This will be the third straight day of battle, not of marching or sieges, but of gunfire and bayonets. The Union has so far won a battle, and the other battle was inconclusive. Despite these victories, Major General George B. McClellan has withdrawn from his position. This has given full General Robert.E.Lee, commander of the Confederate forces, the initiative. Full General Lee has much the same plan today as yesterday's battle. Hold the majority of the Union Corps south of the Chickahominy River and crush the 5th Corps north of it. In fact, you'll have the exact same people execute the plan. Major General Daniel Harvey Hill, Major General James Longstreet, Major General Ambrose P. Hill, and Major General Stonewall Jackson, who commands 3 divisions. The first of Jackson's divisions is led by Brigadier General William Whiting. The second is going to be led by Jackson himself, and the third is led by Major General Richard Ewell. If you combine these 6 divisions, you get 57,000 men. These 57,000 men will be split up into 2 major parts. A.P. Hill and Longstreet are to be the main body and push Porter back. Jackson and D.H. Hill are then to hit the exposed right flank, move around to the rear, and break down the enemy corps. Lee knows Porter will be behind the Powhite Creek. Have D.H. Hill and Jackson on Old Cold Harbor. Move down Telegraph Road. Have A.P. Hill and Longstreet anchor themselves from River Road north to Gaines Mill and west to Jackson at Telegraph Road. It's as easy as that. Lee has even met with Stonewall Jackson in person, who he feels is responsible for the debacle of yesterday. Such failure would not and could not be repeated. Powhite Creek will be theirs. Brigadier General Fitzporter of the 5th Corps has deployed his forces on Boatswain Swamp, east of Powhite Creek. 5th Corps has 3 divisions, led by the 3 Georges. The first belongs to Brigadier General George Morrell, who has taken the more western part of the line. The second, commanded by Brigadier General George Sykes, who holds the eastern part of the line. The exhausted Brigadier General George A. McCall, who is being held in reserves, and Fitzporter has been loaned the 1st Division of the 6th Corps. Thank you, Brigadier General William Franklin. This division is led by Brigadier General Henry Slocum, who is also in reserves south of the Chickahominy River, though. Important to note, both sides have better knowledge of the terrain than normal. The Air Corps are dueling in reconnaissance. Though this also worries McClellan, the Confederates have never had a balloon in the sky before. They're planning something big. But where? In the morning, Major General A.P. Hill is moving down through Mechanicsville, where he captures some Union skirmishers. They should be stronger. Maybe the Union was hit harder than expected yesterday. Soon Hill gets near Gaines Mill, and he hears something. The battle begins a little after 12. The Confederate plan is being executed on time. Major General Daniel Harvey Hill has arrived at Old Cold Harbor Crossroads, with a few buildings around it. Here he is to meet up with Stonewall Jackson, but he doesn't wait. He moves down south with 2 brigades, where some muskets are heard. This is not good. It's supposed to be on the enemy's flanks. How long is their line? He orders forward a battery of Alabama guns. These cannons should silence them. A blast is returned by 12. Brigadier General George Sykes has 2 batteries ready to disable any Confederate artillery. Hill now realizes that he isn't engaging the enemy flank, but square on, and he isn't ready to fight that battle. He withdraws and waits for Stonewall. Porter learns of the engagement and sends word to McClellan. The enemy is here. Send me Slocum. Porter has set his forces up where he does have time for Slocum to arrive, as shown to A.P. Hill. A.P. Hill's division did most of the fighting at Beaver Creek Dam yesterday. He has only 2 fresh brigades, Brigadier General Maxcy Gregg's and Brigadier General Lawrence Branch's. These 2 shall spearhead his assault. Gregg's brigade marched out in good order and with full lines of men, and then a crack. What is going on? This fire is very accurate and from far away. Men in blue are pretty easy to spot. There were some skirmishers from the 9th Massachusetts, but a good portion of this fire seems to be coming from grass. These are the 1st U.S. sharpshooters, and their name barely does them justice. They are equipped with Sharps rifles and Whiteworth rifles, and with any gun that can reliably take someone out from many hundreds of yards away. They are recruited by Colonel Hiram Berdan. They are some of the best soldiers in the Union Army. They wear green specifically to ensure their kills are camouflaged, and these men are doing a good job holding up and picking off Gregg's men. But numbers do give way, and Gregg has made it to Powhite Creek, ready to fight. Where is the enemy? He looks further to the swampy marshes and sees the Union's force, and hears the crack of a rifle. Where it came from, he doesn't know. Forward, men. At 2:30, he believes he has reached the enemy line, or should I say, the swamp. His forces find it hard to advance. The New Yorkers took the opportunity to flood the swamp with musket fire, making it even harder. Branch is not doing that much better. While he doesn't have to deal with the skirmishers, the swamp and longer march were a shared experience. But Gregg is definitely having it worse. His beloved 1st South Carolina Rifles are able to engage with Massachusetts artillery. Perfect. Then the 5th New York Zouaves charging, killing 70, wounding 221, and causing 58 to go missing. That's a 57% casualty rate. That's not survivable. Branch suffered 401 casualties. The 2 brigades fall behind the 3rd Confederate Brigade, led by Brigadier General Joseph R. Anderson. Anderson charges the Union line. The swamp breaks his cohesion, the artillery breaks the morale, and the musketry breaks the men. He charges again. His men get mangled in the branches next to their former comrades. The Union spares no gunfire. Anderson feels like the Union line must have gotten stronger. They must be in his head. Charge! The 3rd charge goes into the swamp, and whoever can are lucky to leave it. Major General A.P. Hill's 1st Brigade goes in for the charge, and with Brigadier General Charles Field giving a triumphant order to advance, they do so proudly. The swamp breaks the men up, they lose their sense of direction, and men in the rear see some soldiers. Are they coming at us? They fire on the supposedly charging Yankees. It's their own men. Surprisingly, some of Gregg's men make it over the water. Not enough of them to do anything, though. A.P. Hill was supposed to take on fleeing Union men. He has entered hell. 2,000 of his men dead today. Over 1,000 yesterday. Porter has been sending word to McClellan. McClellan has gained something he lost a long time ago. Hope. If the enemy are retiring and you are a chasseur, pitch in. He then orders Brigadier General William Franklin of the 6th Corps to use Danube Bridge to flank the attacking Confederates. Today he will crush the opponent. Franklin reports back to McClellan the bridge is destroyed. The 6th Corps had burnt it a while ago. Then, word from the 2nd Corps under Brigadier General Sumner. There's been Confederate activity. And just like that, it's gone. McClellan has lost hope. Pack up camp. Tonight we withdraw. Unlike McClellan, full General Lee has no problem being near the action. In fact, he's doing so in a manner unbefitting his rank. And brazenly dangerous. Lee rallies his men in front of battle lines. As Lee is rallying, Major General James Longstreet is arriving. He sees the trouble A.P. Hill is having and will not engage till Jackson arrives. Where is Jackson? Jackson is currently riding down a road, cursing out Private Timberlake of the 4th Virginia. Timberlake led Stonewall down the long road. Now he has to walk back the exact same path. He will be late for the 2nd time in 2 days. Will Lee ever trust him after this? He sends Major General Ewell with his division. Maybe he can get there ahead of us. Maybe even on time. A crack. Skirmishers. And they're in the forest. No way to find them. This will take forever to deal with. And what's blocking my path? This lump of trees? Lee is watching as events unfold. A.P. Hill is so unable to mount an attack. His forces are tired, confused, and separated. In a word, vulnerable. If Lee doesn't do anything, Porter can charge them and destroy 1/5 of his forces. Longstreet will need to cover for him. Longstreet sends forward 2 brigades, Brigadier General Camden Wilcox's, Brigadier General George Pickett's, a full frontal assault. The drums beat, the feet march, and when they get into range, it devolves into a massacre. Smoke clutters the battlefield as Pickett's men are mowed down like grass before a blade. Pickett himself is wounded. Wilcox is only doing slightly better. Confederate President Jefferson Davis looks onward to the destruction, seeing the charge's failure. It's 3:30, and Lee is growing anxious. Every second wasted is a second McClellan can take Richmond. Every charge wasted weakens the next one. Every volley of fire cuts down into his limited supplies. And where the hell is Jackson? Lee looks out and sees Major General Richard Ewell. Where's Ewell's division, though? We doesn't have time. General Ewell, the sacrifices of General Gregg and Branch must not be in vain. You are to follow their route and break what they have cracked. Ewell follows the order. He sends in the 8th Brigade, split Brigadier General Sykes and Brigadier General Morrell. Instead of Major General Richard Taylor, Colonel Seymour leads the brigade. He is not prepared. Boatswain Swamp is a confusing mess. He marches into it confidently, but he can't find his way. A volley. Time is ticking. Seymour must find a way forward. A volley. We can't see or hear anything. A volley. Brigadier General Porter knows his men are holding. Back into the valley of Swamp, Seymour slips to the ground. Bloody bullet has just exited his head. The brigade needs a leader. Major Robert.E.Lee, the Wheat of Wheat's Tigers, steps forward to lead the brigade. Come on, men! Forward! Another volley, and Wheat falls down dead. A bullet hit his skull. The brigade isn't doing so well and has to withdraw, not being able to even attack the Union. Brigadier General Fitzporter sees men of Slocum's division and strengthens his tired lines. He sends word to Major General McClellan, asking for more reinforcements. McClellan sent words to each of his subordinates, asking for volunteers. No takers. So he orders Brigadier General Sumner to hand over 2 brigades, Brigadier General Thomas Meagher and Brigadier General William French, to march over and reinforce the 5th Corps. Lee is scared to death. He has no ideas if he still has forces south of the Chickahominy River, and even if he does, he can't call upon them. Richard Ewell's exhausted forces are trickling in, but Jackson is MIA. The sun will be coming down in a handful of hours. He can't wait. He must keep up the pressure, or Porter can reform his lines and win. Ewell sends in 2 regiments from his 7th Brigade, led by Brigadier General Isaac Trimble, 15th Alabama and the 21st Georgia. They march off. These are 2 regiments that proved themselves in the valley to be good shot troops. They approach the swamp, but like many before them, they can't move past it. Crack from sharpshooters, bang from cannons, a terrifying scream as a volley hits its mark. These regiments can't cross over. Crack, bang, yell. Only 80% of the regiments get out. For Lee, the problems continue. Brigadier General Arnold Elzey launches an assault with his brigade of mostly Virginia regiments. They are brutalized with Union volleys, but the pressure has been kept up. The Union is exhausted, but the Confederates are also exhausted. It's the evening. The battle has been going on since midday. Then something changes everything. A dust cloud appears near Cold Harbor. Clamps of hoofs. D.H. Hill sees him first. Major General Thomas Jonathan Stonewall Jackson has arrived on the field of battle. He comes with only a portion of his forces, but gets them into line with Major General Daniel Harvey Hill. Full General Lee gives him an order. Prepare, for we will soon assault this enemy line en masse. Jackson panics and aimlessly rides all around. His chief of staff takes over for him and gets his subordinates, Brigadier General Charles Winder and Brigadier General William Whiting, into line. And finally, Full General Robert.E.Lee meets with Jackson on this tiring day.
General, I'm glad to see you. I only wish I could have been with you sooner.
Jackson's reply is unknown, hidden by the sound of battle. Yeah, sure. Jackson has been humiliated. Lee has no time for a lengthy pep talk, though. General Jackson, can your man stand the enemy's musketry?
They can stand anything. They can stand that.
It's 7 p.m. The Confederates have an hour and a half, 16 brigades, and a prayer. The Union has its corps, now outnumber these 16 brigades, but are exhausted beyond belief. If they can hold just long enough, they will be reinforced. The move forward by the Confederates begins at 7. But it's not universal. This is a giant battlefield, and communication is not perfect. On the Union right, D.H. Hill advances, but goes against Union regulars from professional regiments. They know how to lay down accurate volley fire and break the Confederate backs. But through sheer willpower, the 20th North Carolina reaches a Union artillery battery. This is the success on the right flank, but the Union regulars are bolstered by Brigadier General Slocum. The 5th Maine charges in, mortally wounding the 5th Alabama's leader and seizing its colors, meaning that the 20th North Carolina's breakthrough is contained. In the center, Jackson's command throws in everything it has, minus the small brigade of Brigadier General John Jones. Jackson's men march forward, and gunfire rips holes in the lines. Cannons break apart regiments. The cacophony of death silenced any victorious cheers. Virginal Arnold Elsie is wounded in the head. Colonel Walker takes over for him. Colonel Samuel Fukerson is mortally wounded, and a subordinate has to take over. Jackson's forces are being stripped of its leaders and its soldiers. On the left, Major General James Longstreet is marching straight towards death.
I was, in fact, in the position from which the enemy wished us to attack him.
Brigadier General George Pickett's brigade advances forward, supported by Brigadier General Roger Pryor and Brigadier General Wilcox. Their gunfire does not reach the Union, and the Union enjoys their target practice. The entire Confederate line has reached the enemy's range, and are unable to get the breakthrough they need. And it's getting darker, the sun is going down, they need a breakthrough. Pickett's brigade is right next to Brigadier General John Bell Hood's brigade of Brigadier General Whitting's division. Hood sees something. An opening. A hole. He orders the 4th Texas into it. They cross the creek and are choked by smoke, but no gunfire. The smoke from the guns are being held to the ground, so the Texans advance between the 83rd Pennsylvania and the 1st Michigan unnoticed. Unnoticed for a time, though, because as they march past the 2 regiments, they are recognized. The enemy is behind us. We are being surrounded. Who started it? We don't know, but the retreat begins as Union soldiers flee for their lives, despite the Texans not really posing a threat. This breakthrough does cost Lee a whole lot. 2 brigades from Whitting's, 4 of the 9 regimental commanders dead or near death, and the leader of the artillery on death's door if it hasn't already entered it. Then Pickett's brigade breaks through. They cross the creek and march up the battleworks. Despite being shot into, despite the previous failed assaults, they get up there. The Texas Brigade starts marching towards exposed Union artillery, and the 5th U.S. Cavalry is ordered to charge. By who, we don't know, but as the Texans brush the Watt House, they hear the clamping of hooves. They turn and fire. The 5th U.S. Cavalry is no more. Sumner's brigades reach the Union, but it's too late. The 5th Corps is retreating. The brigades act as rear guards. The Confederates try to pursue, but it's too late. Though they did win. They took the field of battle, but at what cost? 1,483 dead, 6,402 wounded, 108 missing or captured, 3 brigade commanders and a general officer gone. The Union lost 893 killed, 3,107 wounded, and 2,836 captured or missing. 1 brigade commander is mortally wounded. Brigadier General John Reynolds is captured. Regiments on a whole are also captured, and 9 regimental commanders are dead. Throughout the night, the 5th Corps crossed the Chickahominy. By 4 in the morning, on the 28th, burn bridges and get back to the main Union camp. Lee is anxious as hell. He did what? Take some land no one cares about? A goddamn swamp? The 5th Corps got away. McClellan has got everything he wants. Lee suffered a 14% casualty rate of his forces that were ready for battle. 86% will only be ready for the next one. He has nothing. His army is split, his force is broken. Just like the morale he needs, there's no energy, but he needs to fight. In McClellan's camp, there is panic. They retreat. Not only will the Chickahominy River never be crossed again, they're falling back on a hole. All of the corps, over 100,000 men, are to move south overnight. And at midnight on the 28th, yes, I'm going to go a little forward in time on this one, McClellan sends this to Secretary of War Edwin Stanton.
Honorable E.M. Stanton, Secretary of War. I now know the full history of this day. I have lost this battle because my force was too small. I again repeat, I am not responsible for this. I say it with the earnestness of a general who feels in his heart the loss of every brave man who has been needlessly sacrificed today. I still hope to retrieve our fortunes, but to do this, the government must view the matter in the same earnest light that I do. You must send me very large reinforcements, and send them at once. I only wish to say to the President that I think he is wrong in regarding me as ungenerous. When I said that my force was too weak, I merely reiterated a truth which today has been too plainly proved. If at this instant I could dispose of 10,000 fresh men, I would gain a victory tomorrow. I know that a few thousand more men would have changed this battle from a defeat to a victory. As it is, the government must not and cannot hold me responsible for the result. I feel too earnestly tonight. I have seen too many dead, and wounded comrades to feel otherwise than that the government has not sustained this army. If you do not do so now, the game is lost. If I save this army now, I tell you plainly that I owe no thanks to you or to any other person in Washington. You have done your best to sacrifice this army. George B. McClellan.
As for Sickles, his men are defending Williamsburg Road, and were not allowed near the action. But they do get the orders to retreat down Williamsburg Road. A crushing order. When he hears that McClellan is retreating, he is overjoyed. The day has been saved. He can continue up the assaults. His Richmond is no longer under siege. Morale soars. McClellan is moving south towards the James River, and we will pursue. Hello, it's the entire Civil War Week by Week team here. I just want to say thank you for the 1,000 subscribers, and hopefully 1,000 more fall into this trap. If you liked the video, please like it. If you want to tell me how much you liked it, please comment. If you want to see more, you should be seeing playlists, recommended videos, and a button to subscribe if you don't want to go to the one down below. It has been an honor reporting this very old news to you, and I'll see you next week.